Hello. Let me know if the audio is working. I have no idea. Can you hear anything on this? No, I have it muted on my end so that it doesn't get feedback. Okay, good. Thank you. Can you hear the music in the background too? At all? Okay. Cool. Thank you. So I'm really just trying to do a test to see how this whole streaming thing works out, since I'm pretty much, well, I'm a noob, I guess, at any rate. Anyway, I got this cup under, well, that holds the ribber. I got that taken care of the other day, so it actually helps keep the whole thing in place where it should while I'm not using it. And I really don't think the issue was just because I'm a Libra, but there was a legitimate issue for just kept kind of falling over and being in the way. Anyway. Yeah. So here's the, I don't know how much you can really see in the top view, but that epoxy putty. There I go, sticking my finger into strange holes here, but that's really, well, once I got it to not actually stick to the base of the rubber post, that made all the difference. All right. So I don't get to see this on a full screen to see how clear or good or bad the side view camera is working, but I mean, they're both definitely on, but anyway, any feedback as far as whether it's working or looks good or looks bad, lighting, anything. Now I have to remember how to actually make a sock, as well as try to figure out how to do the streaming stuff too. All right. So let me just pop over to my other thing here for a sec and show you. All right, thanks for that. That's pretty cool. So what I did is I started with this sock blank, and it was a double-stranded sock blank that I knit up on the machine, and then I decided to dye it, and I was kind of going for a cat's eye theme. I can't remember if it was around Halloween or what it was, but I cut out some sponge blocks and just kind of went to town on it, had some fun with it. And then when I had it stretched out as I was applying the dye to it, the proportions looked great to me, but after it dried, the pieces, the greens, which had been square, turned into rectangles. So at any rate, it's still kind of a representation of a cat's eye, which something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. But to be able to see how it behaves on a blank and changes colors as it goes, that's what I'm going to investigate today. So I have it on cones. I've wound it onto 2 cones because it was 2 50-gram skeins. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can make 2 identical socks out of this and see how the particular pattern that I made with the stamping is going to translate to a sock. So, let me put the camera back on here. I suppose to make this a real test, well, I don't know. Actually, instead of making a sock out of it right away, I think what I'm going to do is just do a quick tube and see what the general pattern comes up as. And if it looks really awful, then I'll go to plan B. But if it looks pretty cool, I'll actually make a sock out of it. So I guess for that matter, I don't need the ribber in there right now. So I do have the heel spring engaged so that I get the same general tightness. Actually, I'm going to have to put in the other half of the cylinder needles in order to get an accurate test on how this looks. Because if I do it on only 36 needles, it's not going to have the same dimension. It's going to look more like mock rib than a stockinette tube. Also, I do have the heater going on in the background. I've been wondering if it's too noisy or creates any static or fuzz kind of noise in the background. Hey, sweetie. Oh, interesting. Well, is it bad, or like does it conflict with the music at all, or I was just hoping it didn't put a distracting background noise in there, because I could see it show up on the audio metrics a little bit. Okay, thank you. The last time I was in here goofing around with my sock machine, I think I broke 2 or 3 needle latches. So I'm trying to remember to be a bit more careful and pay attention to latches being open. Cost me 50 cents every time I break a needle. This is looking pretty cool so far. Should be getting to a section of straight black. Yeah, here we are. Which would be in between the eyeball sections. Now we're coming up to another section of eyeball windows. So I'm going to run out about enough yarn here that would be about equivalent to making the foot. And I'm going to pop this off the machine without cutting it, and then just see how it looks in general, and then I'm going to pop over to the yarn winder and stick it back on the cone. So I'm going to make sure to remove my weight so it doesn't land on my toes. Okay. So no, that's not too bad. I think really for a whole series of tests, that actually kind of makes a bit of a neat pattern. So I'm just going to cut my stuff off here really quick. So basically, I think I'm going to go ahead and actually make a sock for it. I'm just going to pop out to the cone winder and put this back on. Okie doke. So I'm just going to make a regular sock that's actually wearable. I'm gonna make a shorty sock. I've been liking that format lately. I'm just going to take care of my waste yarn really quick and get it on a cone. Otherwise I end up with a pile of it somewhere on the corner of my desk. And since I put in all of my other needles, I know there's chat on there. I've got Bo and Aurora on here. I have no idea how to manipulate the chat. Bo or Aurora, I have Phoenix. They say they're not able to see the chat. Any help you could give on that? Ah, okie dokie, perfect. I'm glad you could make it. This is pretty cool, having my favorite people on here. I have to say it is a tad bit ironic asking me how to find the chat down there. Okay, it won't take a minute here. Actually, it'll take a couple minutes to set it up again. I get it. So what did you all do today that was creative or interesting? Are they interviews for people on your team? I forgot all about my coffee. Okay. Fall asleep by doing interviews, or are we talking about the clickies or the sock making? Or not having coffee? Need to get my recipe. So I actually have some bespoke work to do as well. This orange sock yarn is going to be paired with this self-striping business, and the blue, that's going to be the contrast. These are going to be two separate socks for the same person. So I dyed the orange and the blue to be a contrast for the cuff and the heels and toes of a pair of socks for someone else who has smaller feet than I do. So I'm going to have to readjust my recipe a tiny bit. So after I do this test sock of the cat's eye business, I'm going to do well, sometime this week, probably tomorrow, I'm going to do the other socks. So in my pattern, it looks like I have to pay attention. That's what I have to do, is so that I don't miss my landmarks. Coffee first. A phoenix. Coffee. All right. So this particular gosh, I don't know whether I should use a black or a gray contrast. I think I'm going to use the gray. Split the difference in the cobweb lycra between the value of the green and the black, because otherwise I'm going to have a black strand of lycra showing up, although that may not be such a bad thing. Oh, what the heck, let's use black. It's just a test. Alright, I've cut the cord. Okie doke. Reset my counter. Phoenix, I just kind of decided that I think for what I'm doing has some benefits over the other one. That um, first, I don't think any of the people that I know will actually get an account on there. Um, and I think it's also pretty cool that when I'm done with this stream, it's automatically saved on YouTube, so I don't have to do any messing around afterward. I mean, for me, it's dummy proof. Well, I mean, okay, and here's a testament. It's dummy proof without having my coffee to front load what I was doing, and I think that says a lot for me. But I think mostly if I say Twitch to the other people that I know, I will have to explain it. So that's a step that I also don't want to have to go through. So I'm thinking, I think this works, or I think it's going to work, but absolutely I'm looking forward to having any kind of feedback that you guys can give me, because this is most likely going to get deleted out of the archive on my page, but I'm hoping to use it as a springboard to learn more stuff for sure, and just be more confident being on here. I need to switch to my concentrator glasses. Oh man, those are filthy. Oh, that's better. I really like the OBS. It really is pretty intuitive to do, and with just a really quick tutorial on it to show me how to make a new profile from the initial Twitch one. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm totally. Let me know if the camera angles are, you know, need any kind of adjustment or less of the top of my head in it. But yeah, the tutorials even for OBS are so well put and succinct that I mean, everybody knows how I'm not really great at a lot of technical things, and I still even got it. So pat on the back to the people who put together those tutorials for it. because I think I had a YouTube profile set up with it in, you know, a couple of minutes. It was kind of funny today when I was knitting with my old lady friends. A new friend that I have, her name is Pete, and I asked her if she might be interested in video streaming to see how her socks are going to be made. So those the cones with the blue, green, yellow, and the yellow, orange, turquoise, purple. Those are going to be socks for her. And she said, I don't really do a whole lot on online, and I'm not really sure about streaming, but she listed off a half a dozen platforms that she doesn't use, so I thought that was pretty cool. The YouTube is the one that was really in the whitelist, which again, I'm happy about that. So we basically have about the same usages for different platforms, and since YouTube was really the one that was in the common list, I figured that's even more reason to just keep YouTube as a streaming thing. And I'm finding that I actually have to schedule the stream in order for it to interface with the OBS. Or unless you can troubleshoot that with me and find a different way to do it, I'm not really I don't, from my perspective, I'm finding it hard to just hit the streaming button on YouTube and go, even though I've got the OBS in the background. It's coffee time. Alright, it's time to concentrate just for a sec. Make sure all my needles are catching. The first round is always finicky. And once I get to this first ribber needle between the purple and blue sections, I basically need to set my ribber out of action. Okay, so I've forgotten I don't use that black dot, I use this green one here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick those up in just a sec. So what I did there is locked my ribber out of action just a few needles too soon. So my ribber didn't knit a few of these stitches, so I just have to go back and do it manually. And back in business. So that's one time around, I go 2 times around with it out. Make sure. Yep. Bingo. All right. So that's the trickiest part. And reset my row counter to 0. And we're going to treat that whole setup like it was just one row. And just one more time, checking on all my needles to make sure they're properly engaging. I can never remember how many times I run my lycra around the mast. Needs a bit of extra tension, but oh, I think I normally run it through there. Oh well. So this 1x1 rib is also always finicky right under that ribber stopper that's behind this blue section on here. If anything is going to mess up when I'm doing this step, it'll be right there. So I have my hands underneath here to pull that section of stitches down entirely. Alright, so I've got 10 rows of 1x1 rib, and I'm going to switch now to doing 3x1 rib. Just transferring the needles in the ribber, that stitch, every other one, to a new cylinder needle. So I'll have 3 stitches in the cylinder, 1 in the ribber, 3 cylinder, 1 ribber, all the way around. I guess I need to take that stitch and transfer. Looks good to go for 3x1 rib. Yeah, I couldn't remember whether I had done the Lycra all the way down to the heel area or if I stopped it right at the rib, but I can see in here it is the first 30 rows, so I guess I better put that on my pattern. Okie dokie. Might as well take a coffee break. And we've got 10 rows of 3x1 rib. There's 10. So from here I need to remove all of the rubber needles and replace them with cylinder needles, and we can take off the rubber and just do a sock. Alright, so that's all of the rubber needles out, and I'm not sure if it's probably a little bit, yeah, I don't think there's enough contrast for you to be able to see the difference inside of this tube of the 1x1 rib and the 3x1 rib. So at any rate, we're doing 10 rows, and then I'll cut the lycra on that. Full rows. This is where I always forget what to do. Oh, and also time to make a heel. Back that up just a tad. Need to lift these cylinder needles in the back, and that puts them out of work so that when my carriage goes around they will not knit. Okay. Actually, I'm going to make a deep heel on this, so 4. Alright, I know in one of my books I probably wrote down exactly how many stitches to add. Excuse me. Okay, I didn't make notes. Let me look in here. Okay. I got it. Oh, let's see. Today is Tuesday. Phoenix, I have 2 pairs of bespoke socks to make, and this gray, I need to eke out a pair of fingerless mitts and a head warmer out of that. None of these are any rush job, but the fingerless mitts are a gift, so I do want to get that on pretty close to as soon as possible, I guess. I don't know, what does your schedule look like? Thursday I am in town. So Thursday is out, but depending on your Wednesday and your Friday, all right. So on that round, I ended my, hold up here, let's get that lycra cut first. I ended my active needles just a tiny bit too soon, and I forgot that I was going to make a deep heel, so I just needed to manually knit those stitches real quick. Now I think I'm back on track. So yeah, I think studio coffee sounds good. Do you want me to bring coffee in that we can brew? I've got, well, I know I'm light roast and you're medium to dark. I've got a nice bag of light roast. Just need to make a quick note on my recipe. well, I like studio coffee, and I obviously always prefer brewed coffee over espresso generally. So yeah, I mean, if you can tolerate light roast coffee, I'll be over there with a bag. So tomorrow, 10, studio. All right, sounds cool. All right, I've got the heel weights installed in here, and it's time to get this heel going. I feel like I haven't done this for so long, I don't remember how to do a heel. It'll come back to me. I think I remember what the issue was. When I was doing the fingerless mitts, it was a little bit different format. I have got a dropped stitch, need to fix it. Okie doke. So you're gonna see the top of my head here, and that's pretty much it for a bit. Time to get serious on this thing for a sec. time to get serious with some magnifiers here. And one more. Oh, okay, perfect. No loss. Hopefully. So I found some needles on my desk when I was organizing the other day, and a lot of times I'll set aside a needle that was kind of malfunctioning, and I don't have the heart to throw it away because I'm not always sure that there's something absolutely wrong with it. Sometimes the latch just malfunctions briefly but is still mostly useful. So at any rate, I put a couple of needles back in my cylinder box that I'm not entirely sure if I should have. And that's probably what caused the dropped stitch. Alright, everything's looking good. Happy with that. I'm just readjusting my heel weights to be a bit higher, closer to the needles. we've got the decreases done. Now it's time to do the increases. Build up the other half of the heel. Alright, heel is finished. Put all the needles back into work. Make sure the latches are down. Up, I mean. Up, no, down. Open. Everything open. All the typical places where I would normally drop a stitch if it were going to happen went through just fine. So a sock that fits my foot needs 75 stitches, 75 rounds. So I got 2. If anybody's still looking, is the video glitching on your end, or Is it just my machine that's kind of showing it slow? Just curious. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, that's 75 rows. And my weight stack is practically at the floor. So it's time to shift that up. Okey-doke. All right, toe. Okay, finished with the toe. And I'm putting all the needles back into work. Put on waste yarn. So when this needle comes down, I'm going to switch to waste yarn. Boy, there is a lot of yarn left on that still. Okay, so it takes about 3 times around to make, no it doesn't, Kitchener. All I have to do is close the toe. I'm getting, the last thing in my head from working with this machine was doing fingerless mitts, so I had to make sure to leave enough yarn in order to do a hand cast off So I'm just going to stuff this bit down into the sock. Attach the waste yarn. Some of these things get really fiddly as far as making sure that things are exactly where they need to be. But if they're not, it can make or break the whole section here. So fiddly is fine. Everything is set. All right. Except I put the waste yarn in backwards. That's okay. We'll do it again. Okay. Oh, ha ha. Okay. Take my weight stack off. Oop, but not with my hair. Ouch. This is probably the first time I haven't gotten my hair stuck in the needles, so I guess it's time to try something else. Okay. So I'm just going to nip this waste yarn off. without cutting my sock yarn. And I just need to stick this waste yarn back onto a cone so I can reuse the good bits that are left here. Alright, so that's the main bit of business. What do you think of that design? Doesn't really super duper translate as anything, but I like the spiraling pattern in here that ouch. Phoenix, let me do a little bit of gizmo magic here and I'll show you the what the sock blank looked like before I put it on a cone. So I'm not sure if you were here where I was explaining how the sock blank came to be. I had an idea for quite some time to make just dye something that had basically cat's eyes on it, and I wasn't sure the scale, whether have, you know, just a few really gigantic spots that were cat's eyes, or something of a smaller scale that might translate to a smaller repeating pattern. So obviously I opted for something that was a bit smaller. I cut some pieces of foam, cut them like a sponge, and I cut them into blocks and just pressed the dye into it at that point, and just made a whole bunch of little cat's eyes. I bet you can't guess the inspiration for that one. So at this point, what I need to do is stick these on to get a couple of stitch markers in here and pull together some crucial stitches. My outfit, the black. Okay, so I'm just trying to isolate the fashion yarn from the waste yarn. Hold my camera down here a bit. All right, so maybe that cleans up the video space a little bit better. So I'm just trying to capture these 3 bits of stitches. I think the person who wrote this pattern made it so the cuff was essentially in sections of 10. So this is the first one that I've made. You probably see these every time I come to the studio, but this the top section of the cuff that is 1 by 1 rib is 10 rows, and then the second section down here that's 3 by 1 rib in the top of the purple, that's also 10 rows. And then the next section of 10 is right before doing the heel. So if you're doing a contrasting color in the heel, it just kind of sets off the whole design a bit. But in fact, I used to do some that were 20 rows for the cuff, and then maybe another 20 for this section. That stitch pattern is called stockinette, where every stitch is a knit stitch. I used to do 20 or so in here, and it made quite a longer cuff, but these are just perfect. I love this pattern. So 10, 10, 10 in this. And I guess, here, let me just show you the picture too. It's kind of a cute little callback to 1980s kind of socks that we probably wore. Having this little, I'm not sure how well it'll show up in the video, but it's just a cute little transition between color changes. So just having a couple of rows of stripes in there, to me it's a little too finicky to make the color changes that soon, but anyway, it's just a really cute, well, for one, the pattern is really well written, but the structure of the sock too is, it absolutely fits my gigantic feet. nice. All right. So the very last thing I need to do is stitch all these little pieces together. So now that I've hooked pull this over just a tad. I'm not sure if it's gonna miss that other window. All right, so I just need to get in there. Oh, and I need to do that on the other side real quick. So capturing all of these 3 stitches that I'm going to do helps make it so that there's not a hole at the transition point, which makes the very edge of the sock. All right. And hopefully if I've captured those right, all those numbers are gonna come out as they should as I sew this together. Oh, this is my problem, is I need to switch to super duper glasses. Oh, much better. I've pulled this just a little too tight. I must have completely missed the piece I was looking for. So this is a Kitchener stitch that it creates exactly the same stitch as a knit stitch. The rows of knit stitches, but instead of doing it with knitting needles, it's with a sewing needle. I just need to give a tug on these really quick to catch, make sure I can see I'm going into the right stitch. So it's just a little sequence to remember, and it's pretty darn easy, but it's incredibly easier doing it actually with an upholstery needle than to finish it up with knitting needles. Once I get going across here a little bit, the pattern emerges and all of this waste yarn is going to be tucked in. It kind of looks like a sock puppet until the pattern really starts to emerge on here. And strangely, I also find that the tension on the finished sock for this row of seaming is better than if I were to finish this off with knitting needles. All right. So that's everything stitched. Time to flip it right side out and pull off the waste yarn. All right. Well, I'd call that a success. Just need to sew in the ends here real quick. Guess I changed my glasses out a little too quickly. So I want my stitches to be on the top side of the toe as I sew these in, instead of having them on the bottom of the foot. So what I do is just run these stitches through on a diagonal so that it'll, instead of being tight on the, and you know, puckering up any of the sock, it'll lie very flat in there, and because it's on the bias, it'll stretch. These stitches that I'm putting in here will stretch with the sock. And that'll allow it to be worn and washed, that hopefully that stitch won't work its way out. And then the last thing is to do the same thing in the cuff. There's that strand of lycra versus the sock yarn, and how stretchy. So this is what's going to give comfort to the cuff area. There we go. So on the inside of the cuff, I'm just going to run this down the first row of ribbing. Just catching the right leg. When I get back down to the stockinette stitches that make the pre-heel, then I will stitch the end of the yarn into that, just like I did the toe. So I generally go through 4 stitches and then go over a row and do 4 more. Three times. Just make sure to pull on those on the diagonal directions to give that stitch as much room as possible. Cut it at about 1/2 inch. Oh, gesundheit myself. All right, that is a sock. If you're still here and not asleep, wow. I'll go get one of my sock blockers real quick. That's a tiny foot sock blocker. This is for a regular human. So that is a sock. Yeah, the funniest thing, Phoenix, I can see where you say the sock matches what I'm wearing, but it's actually it's, maybe you know what it is about the video that's making it do it, but it's got a, it's blackening parts of the colors. So it's actually a bright green, fluorescent green actually, and black, and tiny bits of white. So now I need to do this one more time, and then I can cover both of my feet. And that's a sock. So I guess what I should do is go take this to the wash and get it washed and dried so all of those stitches can settle into place where they need to be, and that lycra is going to shrink and help keep that cuff. Actually, you can see in this sock how it's going to really bring that in and tighten up those stitches. Makes for a super comfy sock. So, if anybody out there is still hanging on, I'm going to turn this gizmo thing off. I'm going to figure out how to do that. And Phoenix, 10 a.m. studio. Tomorrow, coffee. All right. Good night, anybody who's there. Thanks for hanging with me.